inside the Niger Delta.
In the contest for governorship of Bayelsa State is Chief Timi Alaibe, former Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC), who contributed immensely to the development of the state and other parts of Nigeria's oil-rich region, while he called the shots at the NDDC. The following special feature highlights the immense contributions of the NDDC to the socio-economic transformation of Bayelsa State under the watch of Timi Alaibe, who has devised a comprehensive blueprint for the sustainable development of the state. With the governorship primaries of the All Progressives Congress (APC) and the People's Democratic Party (PDP) scheduled to hold on August 29th and September 3rd, 2019 respectively, the race for Creek Haven has commenced in earnest. Preceding the November 16 governorship election in Bayelsa State is high-level politicking defined by permutations, consultations and horse trading in the various political parties, particularly within the fold of the PDP, where no fewer than 21 governorship aspirants are set to slug it out for the party's ticket. Chief Timi Alaibe, former Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC), is a major contender for the governorship ticket of the PDP. A chartered accountant who has taught his stuff in the private and public sectors of the economy, Alaibe intends to bring his wealth of experience to bear in the governance of Bayelsa State. For the former NDDC boss and one-time presidential advisor on Niger Delta affairs, the art of governance and troubleshooting is not an unknown terrain. With a development background, Alaibe has the intellectual capacity to transform Bayelsa State and reposition it to an enviable status of first among equals in the Committee of States.
I've run an organization with 145 local governments. Bayelsa State is just 8 local governments. Don't I have the capacity to run this? I've run a system that had over 5,000 projects. I don't think that the projects in Bayelsa State are up to 5,000 projects. So I come with that strong capacity and business sense to ensure that our people enjoy my vision of a shared economic prosperity. And in doing that, we have gone with the buzzword, the blue economy. Open up Bayelsa State to the ocean and benefit from job creation that will come through that activity. We need to organize and coordinate sustainable development in our state. So as I become governor, I will enunciate and start the implementation or the design first and implementation of a 25-year strategic plan for our people so that development can be organized.
In the ongoing race for Creek Haven, it is important to note that Alaibe is not the only aspirant with a formidable proposal for the development of Bayelsa State. The grandstand posturing of other aspirants notwithstanding, Alaibe is generally viewed as the contestant with the Midas touch to unlock Bayelsa's vast potentials for greatness in all spheres of human endeavor. As a matter of fact, the chances of the Opokuma-born politician in the forthcoming governorship primaries are quite promising, owing to what Bayelsans attribute to his achievements in the past.
We can trace his antecedents and know what he has done. He is capable of taking us to where we ought to be as a state.
Following the ever-increasing complex nature of societies and its attendant governance challenges in today's global community, the emphasis has shifted to sustainable development and good governance, apparently to provide improved quality service delivery to the people, especially those at the grassroots. This was the driving force for Alaibe in his engagement with the rural communities of Bayelsa State and other parts of the Niger Delta, while he held sway as Chief Executive Officer of the Niger Delta Development Commission (NDDC). A major aspect of his intervention at the time was a sustained campaign against environmental degradation in Bayelsa State. As the NDDC helmsman, Alaibe was compelled by the love of his people to shield them from the threat of biodiversity loss and internal displacement, when in 2007 he awarded the Kayama Shoreline Protection Contract. After the award and successful execution of the Kayama Shoreline Protection Contract, the then NDDC boss had awarded a land reclamation contract for the resettlement of internally displaced persons in Kayama community, where vast parcels of land had been eroded by the River Norn.
This community will not be able to thank Timi Alaibe and the NDDC enough. We can't. We cannot. That is why you see me sweating. The Amanoe too is standing somewhere sweating. The whole community has come out. As it is said in the Bible, silver and gold we don't have. But the word of thank you, we will do it. We will continue to do it. But to reward him or to reward NDDC, I don't think we can do it.
There is enough evidence to suggest that Alaibe's passionate efforts to industrialize Bayelsa State with the provision of basic infrastructure predate his governorship ambition. It will be recalled that the NDDC, under the dynamic leadership of Alaibe, had awarded and executed the Sampo, Sagbama, Ekirimo, and Oditrofani road projects, amongst several other road projects. The Oditrofani road project, that was completed by December 2008 with 5 solid bridges linking the famous Odi community to Trofani, had alleviated transportation and communication hiccups previously encountered in several communities that could not be directly accessed by road. Owing to the difficult terrain in the Niger Delta, particularly Bayelsa State, which lies below sea level, road construction is one of the most challenging projects to contemplate. For Timi Alaibe and his team, it involved the clearing of virgin forests and mapping out clearly defined paths to construct the existing road networks that have made life easy for the people.
This is a cut through virgin forest, and you can see that it is to buttress the point that NDDC is traversing through the communities, through virgin forests, through the thick and thin, to ensure that we connect the Niger Delta.
In a bid to open Bayelsa State for further development, the NDDC, under Alaibe's supervision, had embarked on several canalization projects. The projects were intended not only to bridge the transportation and communication gaps in the communities, it was also to ensure safety and efficiency in marine transport. Perhaps the people of Frupa will not be in a hurry to forget the laudable efforts of the former NDDC boss to open up many clusters of creeks that militated against safe and convenient transport and communication in the area.
We were called in to create a canal that would shorten and make it possible for the Frupa community people to get to their community. We came, carried out surveys, cleared it, and then started excavating. And as you can see, the canal is true. We have achieved flotation. At present, we're about 3 meters below low water. That means even if the tide goes very low, any vessel that doesn't have a draft deeper than 3 meters can ply this canal.
What has been the collaboration of the community here? Have they been helpful to you? Have they been collaborating with you? Because these days they say the Niger Delta is not a place you can walk. What has happened so far?
MD sir, we want to say that the Frupa community has been very cooperative. They have actually nominated persons that have been security personnel to our equipment and during work. Even if persons from outside this area come to try to disrupt work, they dispel them speedily. And we've not encountered any, what would I say, roughness or trying to stop work or any militancy of any sort. They appreciate the effort of the development they're trying to bring to the community, so they've been very cooperative. So we, as a company, have not experienced any disruption of work now.
Bayelsa State is endowed with a coastline measuring up to 800 miles, which is the highest in the country. By virtue of their unique geographical location, communities in this largely littoral state have for centuries depended on the waterways for their socio-economic interactions. It was on account of the recent challenges of infrastructure deficit and major threat to the people's safety that Alaibe, in his days at NDDC, decided to construct landing jetties for the safe arrival and departure of ferry boats plying the waterways of Okolobri, Kayama, Agoro, and Basambre, just to mention a few. Following the unsuccessful attempt to link Bayelsa State to the national electricity grid since 2006, most parts of the oil-rich state had been plunged into perpetual darkness. The local economy was crippled by lack of electricity to support business startups, leading to widespread poverty and insecurity. Rising to the occasion, the NDDC, under the leadership of Alaibe, awarded and executed rural electrification projects in Kayama, Ekeki, and several other communities. The commissioning of the Kayama electrification project in November 2008 in the hometown of the legendary Ijaw revolutionary Isaac Adaka Boro was quite historic. It was 42 years after Boro championed the struggle for justice, equity, and development of the Niger Delta.
NDDC tied these projects to the banks. And so your performance was being evaluated not only by NDDC but also by the banks before they release monies. And I think that was a very smart and fast one on the part of the managers at that time, which includes our own Timi Alaibe, who was the first executive director of finance and administration. And I'm sure with his background in banking, he decided to bring those innovations, which led to massive projects being done, and then the master plan of the Niger Delta being done. And these projects were put in place when Chief Timi Alaibe was there, either as the director of finance or later when he took over as the managing director of NDDC. So that is the kind of profile, that is the pedigree of the man we are talking about.
With Alaibe in the saddle, the NDDC had executed several life-transforming projects in Bayelsa State and other parts of the Niger Delta. After commissioning 2 of such projects while he was governor of Bayelsa State, the late Dipriye Alamisea described Alaibe as a worthy ambassador and champion of development in Bayelsa State and vowed to fight for increased funding of the NDDC to enable it carry out its good works in the Niger Delta.
There is no chief executive that will see these 2 projects have commissioned that will not be happy with the commission. You know I'm a fighter. With these assurances, I assure you that they will not sleep till they give money to NDDC.
Alaibe's development strides as Chief Executive Officer of the NDDC was also recognized by former Governor Timi Silva, who gave him an award for championing the people's quest for development in Bayelsa State.
I present this token as a recognition for your exemplary service to Bayelsa State and the fact that you have promoted us at every level, at the NDDC, at the state level, at the national level, and at the international level.
As an advocate of sustainable development, Timi Alaibe did not lose sight of the need to promote peace and security in Bayelsa State. He had on several occasions enjoined restive communities to give peace a chance for meaningful development to take root in Bayelsa State. As Presidential Advisor on Niger Delta Affairs and coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Alaibe had sufficiently deployed his expertise on negotiation and conflict resolution to convince hundreds of aggrieved ex-militants to lay down their arms and embrace peace at the height of the armed conflict in the Niger Delta. The politician turned banker is happy that Bayelsa State now enjoys relative peace and political stability under the watch of Governor Seriake Dixon. He calls on other aspirants in the PDP and other political parties to play by the rules of the game as they seek the people's vote and support to realize their political ambition.
We must decide today to be decent in our campaigns. Voting
And in reaction to the final results, election to public offices must be based on acceptability of the electorate. That the acceptability of a product is popularity of ideas. Election must not be contested and won based on superiority of violence, but on superiority of ideas. Ideas speak to the heart of the people.
With his popularity, experience, and proven leadership qualities, there's no gainsaying the fact that Chief M.D Timi Alaibe is an asset to the PDP and has the ability to secure an overwhelming victory for the party at the November 16th governorship election in Bayelsa State. And for the ordinary people, most of whom are rooting for Alaibe, it will take a reenactment of the man's giant strides in the NDDC to build on the laudable achievements of Governor Seriake Dickson and take Bayelsa State to greater heights.
Inside the Niger Delta,